stop being nice to men. I am Bonang Matheba, and for the longest time, I thought being nice was my superpower. Growing up in Soweto, raised by a single mom who worked 2 jobs to keep the lights on, I learned early that kindness was currency. Smile at the neighbors, share your last slice of bread, say yes even when your feet hurt from standing all day. That was the code. So when I stepped into my 20s, fresh out of university with a media degree and a heart full of dreams, I carried that same sweetness into every relationship like it was a gift-wrapped promise. My first real boyfriend, let's call him Thabo, was the kind of guy every auntie warned you about, but every girl still fell for. Tall, smooth-talking, with a laugh that made you forget your own name. We met at a campus party, and from the jump, he called me his queen. I ate it up. The first time he forgot to pick me up for a date, I told myself traffic was bad. The second time, I said he must be stressed from exams. By the third time, I was the one apologizing for expecting too much. I would wait outside my dorm in the Johannesburg, chill, phone glued to my hand, refreshing WhatsApp like it owed me money. And when he finally rolled up 2 hours late with a half-eaten smile and a sorry that tasted like yesterday's gum, I let him in. Because that's what nice girls do. We forgive, we understand, we make space. I told my best friend Nia that love meant being the bigger person. She looked at me like I had 3 heads and said, Bonang, love isn't a doormat. But I didn't listen. I kept showing up with homemade vet coke and a heart on my sleeve, thinking if I just loved him harder, he'd see me. He didn't. Instead, he started treating my availability like oxygen, something he breathed in without ever saying thank you. I remember the night I cooked a full Sunday cause for him and his boys. Oxtail, pap, chakalaka, the works. I spent 6 hours in that tiny kitchen, sweat dripping into the gravy, because he said, baby, my friends need to taste your magic. They ate every bite, slapped him on the back like he'd won the lottery, and left my plates in the sink. Thabo kissed my forehead and said, you're the best, babe, then fell asleep on the couch while I washed dishes until 2 a.m. I told myself that was love. That was partnership. That was me being the ride or die every man dreams of. But deep down, something cracked. A tiny voice whispered, if this is love, why do I feel so empty? I ignored it. Nice girls don't complain. Nice girls don't make waves. Nice girls keep the peace even when the storm is inside their own chest. Looking back, that was the beginning of the end of the old me. The girl who thought niceness could fix a man who wasn't even trying to be fixed. The girl who believed her worth was measured in how much she could give without asking for anything back. That girl was about to learn the hardest lesson of her life. Being nice doesn't make a man respect you. It just teaches him how little he has to do to keep you around. And respect, my sisters, is the only currency that ever matters in love. And there's a night I'll never forget, the night I sat on my balcony staring at a black screen for 72 hours straight. It was a Thursday in late autumn, the kind of Johannesburg evening where the air smells like braai smoke and possibility. Thabo and I had plans. Not just any plans, real ones. He'd promised to take me to the new rooftop jazz spot in Maboneng, the one with the fairy lights and the saxophone player who makes you believe in soulmates. I'd bought a new dress, deep emerald, the kind that hugs in all the right places. I even got my braids retouched, tight cornrows with gold cuffs that caught the light when I turned my head. I was ready by 6, phone charged, lipstick perfect, heart doing cartwheels. 7 came and went, then 8. By 9, I was pacing, sending gentle nudges. Hey babe, still good for tonight? No reply. 10 o'clock I called, straight to voicemail. I told myself he was driving, maybe his phone died. By midnight, I was in tears, mascara running like cheap ink, refreshing his last scene like a junkie chasing a fix. Friday morning, I woke up to nothing. No missed call, no apology, no explanation. I dragged myself to my internship at the radio station, smiling through the pain, telling my producer I had allergies when my eyes were puffy from crying. That whole day, I kept my phone on silent, but checked it every 5 minutes in the bathroom mirror. Still nothing. Saturday, I baked. That's what I did when I was anxious. I baked. Banana bread, lemon meringue, anything to keep my hands busy and my mind from spiraling. Nia came over and found me elbow deep in flour. She took one look at my face and said, "He still hasn't called?" I shook my head. She hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. Bonang, you deserve better than this. I wanted to believe her, but the truth was I didn't know what better looked like. I only knew how to be the girl who waited. Sunday rolled around, and there it was, a single message at 11:47 p.m. Sorry, babe, was with the boys. You good? 3 days. 72 hours of silence, and that was all I got. I stared at those words until they blurred. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to type, I missed you so much, I'm just glad you're okay. The nice girl, the understanding girl, the girl who would rather swallow glass than make him feel bad. But something shifted. Maybe it was the way my chest ached, like a bruise that wouldn't heal. Maybe it was Nia's voice in my head saying, you're teaching him how to treat you. I didn't reply, not that night, not the next day. I let the silence sit between us like a third person in the room. And for the first time, I felt the weight of my own absence. I realized that waiting wasn't love. It was auditioning for a role he hadn't even posted. That night on the balcony with the city lights flickering like they were trying to spell out a warning, I made a promise to myself. No more waiting for someone to choose me second. The next man who wanted my time would have to show up, or he wouldn't get it at all. Sometimes the loudest lessons come in the quietest moments. And that Sunday, the silence taught me that my heart wasn't a waiting room. It was a throne, and only kings who knew how to knock would be allowed inside. And there's a moment burned into my soul. The afternoon I smiled and said, it's okay, while my heart was splintering into 1,000 pieces. It was a Saturday in Santon, the kind of perfect Josie day where the jacarandas are blooming purple and the air feels like forgiveness. Thabo had planned a picnic at the Walter Sisulu Botanical Gardens, just the two of us. He'd been distant all week, short texts, cancelled calls, but this time he swore it would be different. I owe you, Queen, he said. Let me make it up to you. I believed him. I packed a basket with roasted chicken, fresh ciabatta, strawberries I dipped in chocolate myself. I wore the yellow sundress he once said made me look like sunshine. I got to the gardens at noon, spread out the blanket under our favorite tree, the one with the view of the waterfall. 1 o'clock came, then 2. By 3, the chicken was warm, the chocolate was melting, and my smile was starting to crack. I called, no answer. Texted, babe, everything okay? Nothing. At 4, a couple nearby asked if I needed help packing up. I laughed it off, said my boyfriend was just running late. By 5, the sun was dipping low, painting everything gold, and I was sitting alone with a picnic for 2 that felt like a joke. My phone buzzed at 5:47. One message, stuck at the shop with the guys, car broke down. Rain check, no apology, no call, just that. I stared at the screen until the words stopped making sense. The old me would have typed back, no worries, babe, hope the car's okay. But I was tired of being the safety net, the backup plan, the girl who always understood. I packed up the food, folded the blanket, and drove home with the radio off because every love song felt like a lie. When I got to my apartment, I sat in the car for 20 minutes, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. Not pretty tears, ugly snot-nosed, chest-heaving sobs. Because it wasn't about the picnic. It was about the pattern, the way he knew I'd be there, knew I'd wait, knew I'd say it's okay, even when it absolutely wasn't. I walked inside, put the food in the fridge, and looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were red, my dress was wrinkled, but something in my gaze had shifted. I whispered to my reflection, no more. The next time he called, 3 days later, acting like nothing happened, I let it ring. When he texted, why are you ignoring me? I replied with one sentence. Because I'm done saying it's okay when it's not. He blew up my phone for a week, apologies, promises, the whole script. But I didn't budge. I deleted his number, blocked him on everything, and for the first time in months, I slept through the night. That yellow sundress, I wore it to brunch with Nia the next weekend, and we toasted to new beginnings. Sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can do is stop pretending she's fine when she's not. Because the moment you refuse to carry someone else's disrespect, you make room for the love that was always meant for you. A month after the picnic disaster, I was still carrying the weight of that yellow dress in my heart, wearing it like a badge of every time I had settled for less. I drove to my big sister's house in Midrand on a Sunday afternoon, the kind where the sky is so blue it hurts to look at, and the smell of roasted meat drifts from every backyard. Lorato opened the door in her paint-splattered overalls, fresh from her studio, and took one look at my face before pulling me into the kind of hug that says, I already know. We sat on her porch with mugs of rooibos spiked with honey, and I spilled everything. The 3-day silence, the melted chocolate strawberries, the way I had apologized to Thabo for being upset. When I finished, she didn't speak right away. She just stared at the jacaranda petals drifting onto the table like purple snow. Then she said something that cracked my world open. Bonang, love isn't a door you leave wide open for anyone to walk through whenever they feel like it. Love is a door that can close. I laughed at first, thought she was being dramatic, but she kept going. She told me about the time her ex-fiancé stood her up at the airport the night before their Paris trip. She had waited 4 hours, passport in hand, wedding magazines in her carry-on, telling security he was just late. When he finally called from a club downtown, she had smiled into the phone and said, "No problem, baby, I understand." She stayed another year, planning a future with a man who never showed up for the present. One morning, she woke up, packed his things into black bags, and left them on the curb. He came back begging, but the door was closed. Not slammed, not with screaming, just closed. Quiet, final. She said the hardest part wasn't leaving him. It was realizing she had trained him to treat her like an option by never giving him a reason to choose her first. I sat there letting her words sink in, feeling them settle in my bones like warm, mealy meal. She drew a little sketch on a napkin, a simple door with a lock and a key dangling from my own wrist. "This key isn't for him," she said. "It's for you. You decide who gets in." That night, I went home and took every photo of Thabo off my walls. I deleted the playlists we made, the voice notes where he called me mommy, the screenshots of conversations I used to reread when I missed him. I didn't cry. I felt something stronger than tears, a quiet power humming under my skin. Lorato texted me the next morning. "Closed doors don't mean you're mean. They mean you're moving." I saved that message and made it my lock screen. For the first time, I understood that boundaries aren't walls to keep love out. They're doors that make sure only the right kind of love gets in. And the woman who learns to close a door without apology is the same woman who opens the door to her own worth. 2 weeks after Lorato's porch talk, I was back in the rhythm of my internship. Early mornings at the radio station, late nights editing scripts, trying to prove I belonged in rooms full of men who still called me sweetheart. My phone buzzed during a production meeting, Thabo's name flashing like a warning light. I let it ring out. He left a voicemail, voice smooth, as always, saying he missed me, that he was ready to talk, that he had changed. My stomach flipped the way it used to when he walked into a room, but this time the flip felt different, like a warning instead of butterflies. After work, I sat in my car in the parking garage, replaying the message. Part of me wanted to call back, to hear him explain, to slip into the old role of the girl who fixed everything with forgiveness. But Lorato's napkin sketch was still folded in my purse, the little door staring up at me. I dialed before I could talk myself out of it. He picked up on the first ring. "Queen, finally!" I could hear music in the background, laughter, the clink of bottles. Same vibe, different night. He launched into excuses, work stress, family drama, the usual script, but I cut him off. "Thabo, I'm not calling to fight. I'm calling to say no." Silence on the line, thick enough to choke on. He laughed, nervous. "No to what?" "No to late night apologies. No to rain check dates. No to being your maybe when I deserve to be your priority." My voice didn't shake. I thought it would, but it came out steady, like I'd practiced this moment in my sleep. He tried the charm, the baby please, the "you know I love you." I let him talk until he ran out of words. Then I said, "Love doesn't leave someone waiting in a garden with melted chocolate. Love shows up." I hung up before he could answer. My hands were trembling now, but not from fear, from adrenaline, the rush of standing in my own truth for the first time. I drove home with the windows down, letting the night air slap me awake. When I got to my apartment, I stood in the shower until the water ran cold, washing off every yes I had ever given him that should have been a no. The next morning, he sent flowers, red roses with a card that said, "I'm sorry, let me make it right." I gave them to the security guard downstairs and told him to take them home to his wife. That afternoon, I walked into the station with my head higher, my laugh louder, my coffee stronger. My producer noticed, said I sounded different on air, like I was speaking from somewhere deeper. I smiled and told her I had finally stopped auditioning for roles I was already qualified for. Saying no wasn't the end of kindness. It was the beginning of the kind of kindness that starts with me. And once a woman learns to say no to what doesn't serve her, she makes room for everything that does. 6 months after I closed the door on Thabo, I wasn't looking for anything new. But Johannesburg has a way of putting people in your path when you're finally shining in your own light. I was hosting a charity gala for girls' education, wearing a gold gown that caught every camera flash, feeling like the version of myself I had always dreamed of. That's when I met Liam, tall, quiet, smile, the kind of man who listens more than he talks. He was there supporting the same cause, sleeves rolled up, helping set up tables before the guests arrived. We ended up side by side, arranging centerpieces, laughing about how neither of us could fold a napkin swan to save our lives. By the end of the night, he asked for my number, not with a line, just a simple, "I'd love to take you for coffee sometime if you're free." I said yes, but inside I felt the old guard go up. Coffee turned into dinner at a tiny Ethiopian spot in Yeoville, Injera, and conversation that flowed like we'd known each other for years. He asked questions, real ones, about my dreams, my fears, the radio show I wanted to launch. He remembered details, followed up, showed up on time with a playlist he'd made of songs I mentioned loving. For the first time in forever, I wasn't translating mixed signals. I was just enjoying the moment. Then came the test. 2 weeks in, he texted on a Friday afternoon. "Plans tonight fell through. You free?" No heads up, no real invite, just an assumption I'd rearrange my world because his had shifted. The old Bonang would have cancelled book club, thrown on lipstick, and called it romance. The new Bonang felt the familiar sting of being an afterthought. I stared at the message, thumb hovering. Larato's voice echoed, "Doors that can close." I typed back, "I already have plans, but I'd love to see you tomorrow if you're free for brunch." I hit send and held my breath. 10 minutes later, "Brunch sounds perfect. I'll make a reservation at the Potato Shed, 11 a.m. sharp. Can't wait. No pushback, no guilt trip, just respect." The next morning, he was waiting outside the restaurant with a single sunflower, my favorite, and a smile that said he had been looking forward to this all week. We talked for 3 hours, no phones, no distractions, just two people choosing to be present. As we walked to my car, he said, "I should have planned better Friday. Won't happen again. Simple, direct, accountable." I felt something settle in my chest, a quiet certainty that this was what it felt like to be chosen first. That brunch wasn't just a date. It was proof that when you stop accepting last-minute crumbs, someone will bring you the whole damn bakery, and the woman who knows her worth never has to settle for anything less than a seat at the table she helped set. 3 months into dating Liam, the universe decided to test every boundary I had built, like a pop quiz I didn't study for. It was a Thursday, the kind of Johannesburg evening where the heat sticks to your skin and the city hums with weekend anticipation. I was curled up on my couch in pajamas, halfway through a true crime documentary and a bowl of popcorn, when my phone lit up with a name I had deleted from my contacts, but never from my muscle memory. Thabo. The message was short, almost innocent. "Saw your gala pics. You look happy. Can we talk?" My stomach dropped the way it used to when his car pulled up late, that mix of dread and hope I thought I had buried. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred, popcorn forgotten. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let the past stay where I left it. But another part, the part that still remembered the way he said my name like a prayer, whispered maybe he had changed. I set the phone face down and tried to focus on the documentary. But the narrator's voice faded into static. Every few minutes I flipped the phone over, rereading the message like it might rewrite itself. By midnight, I was pacing my apartment, wine glass in hand, arguing with myself in the dark. Larato's napkin sketch was still taped inside my journal, the little door with the key. But tonight it felt flimsy, like paper against a storm. I opened WhatsApp and hovered over the block button, then closed it. I told myself one conversation couldn't hurt, that I was strong enough to hear him out and walk away untouched. I typed back, "What do you want to talk about?" The reply came fast. "Just miss your voice. 5 minutes, please." Against every alarm bell in my head, I called him. His voice was the same, low and warm, the one that used to make me forgive anything. He started with apologies, real ones this time, about the picnic, the 3-day silence, the way he took me for granted. He said he had been in therapy, that seeing me thrive without him woke him up, that he wanted another chance to prove he could be the man I deserved. I listened, heart racing, tears slipping down my cheeks, because part of me wanted to believe him. He painted a picture of us trying again, slow this time, with effort, with dates planned in advance, with respect. When he asked to see me the next day, I almost said yes. The word was on the tip of my tongue, sweet and dangerous. But then I looked around my apartment, at the sunflower Liam had given me still blooming on the counter, at the vision board above my desk with the words, "I choose me," in bold letters. I thought about the girl who waited in gardens and parking lots, who baked for boys, who never washed a dish. I thought about the woman I was becoming, the one who said no and meant it. I took a breath that felt like jumping off a cliff and said, "Thabo, I'm proud of you for growing, but I'm not the place for your redemption story. I wish you well, but this door is closed." I hung up before he could argue, blocked the number for good this time, and cried, not from sadness, but from relief. The next morning I woke up lighter, like I had shed a skin I didn't know I was still wearing. Liam texted, "Good morning, beautiful. Made you a playlist for your drive to work." I smiled so wide my cheeks hurt. That night I almost opened the door to the past, but choosing to keep it closed reminded me that the strongest muscle a woman has is the one that says no when her heart is screaming yes. And every time she uses it, she builds a future where she never has to choose between her peace and someone else's potential. By the time Liam and I hit the 6-month mark, I had stopped waiting for the other shoe to drop and started believing that good men actually exist, the kind who don't make you translate their silence. We had fallen into a rhythm. Saturday morning hikes in the Magaliesberg, Wednesday night cooking sessions, where he taught me to make the perfect risotto, Sunday phone calls with his mom in Cape Town, who already called me her daughter. But even the best relationships get tested, and ours came in the form of a work trip to Durban that stretched from 3 days to 10 because of a client emergency. The first few days, he was great. Good morning texts, voice notes from the beach, photos of sunsets with captions that said, "Thinking of you." Then the updates slowed. A missed call here, a short reply there, a crazy day excuse that started to sound familiar. By day 7, I was checking my phone less out of excitement and more out of habit, the old anxiety creeping in like fog. I could have let it slide, told myself he was busy, that I was being too needy, but Lorato's voice echoed, "Doors that can close." I decided to test the strength of the door I had built, not with drama, but with honesty. I called him on a Thursday night, no accusation in my tone, just clarity. "Liam, I love how passionate you are about your work, but when the communication drops, I start to feel like an afterthought. I need consistency, even when life gets crazy. Can you meet me there?" He was quiet for a beat, then said, "You're right. I got caught up and didn't realize how it felt on your end. I'm sorry." The next morning, I woke up to a delivery. A box with a handwritten letter, a bag of my favorite coffee beans, and a printed itinerary of his remaining days with specific times he would call. That night, he FaceTimed from his hotel balcony, tired but present, and every day after he checked in, short but intentional, like he was proving with actions what my words had asked for. When he flew back, he didn't just show up with flowers, he showed up with a plan. He booked us a weekend in the Drakensberg cabin with a fireplace, no Wi-Fi, just us and the mountains. He said, "I want you to know that when I say you're my priority, I mean it with my time, not just my words." That weekend, we hiked at sunrise, cooked paponvlees over an open fire, and talked about everything, fears, dreams, the kind of future where we build together instead of one of us carrying the load. He told me that my boundary didn't push him away. It pulled him closer because it showed him what he needed to protect. I realized then that the right man doesn't shrink when you raise the bar. He grabs a ladder and starts climbing. Liam didn't just level up to keep me. He leveled up because he saw a woman worth the effort, and the love that grows from mutual respect is the only kind that ever lasts. A year after the gala where Liam and I met, I stood in front of my mirror getting ready for my first live radio show under my own name, Bonang in the Morning, a dream I had whispered to myself in the dark during the Thabo days. The woman staring back at me was unrecognizable from the girl who waited in gardens with melted chocolate. My hair was in a sleek high bun, my blazer was tailored, my smile was real, not the one I practiced to hide tears. I had just hung up with Liam, who was on his way to the station with coffee and a good luck sunflower, the same way he had every milestone morning for the past year. As I applied my lipstick, I let myself travel back, not with regret, but with gratitude. to every moment that broke me open to build me stronger. I saw the girl who baked for boys, who never cleaned up, who refreshed WhatsApp like a lifeline, who said it's okay when her heart was screaming no. I saw the night I closed the door on Thabo for good, the morning I told Liam what I needed and watched him choose to meet me there. I saw Larato's napkin sketch now framed on my desk, the little door with the key, a reminder that boundaries aren't punishment, they're protection. I thought about the women listening to my show today, the ones refreshing dead conversations, making excuses for men who wouldn't cross the street for them. I thought about the version of me who used to be them, and my chest ached with love for her, for all of them. My producer knocked, said we were live in 5. I took one last look in the mirror and spoke to the woman I used to be. You did good, baby girl. You stopped being nice and started being whole. The red light came on, and I leaned into the mic with a voice that didn't shake. Good morning, Johannesburg. This is Bonang, and today we're talking about the doors we close to, open the ones we deserve. The switchboard lit up with calls, women sharing their stories, their breakthroughs, their first nos that felt like yeses to themselves. Liam slipped into the booth with my coffee, mouthed, I love you. And I knew without a doubt that every tear, every boundary, every closed door had led me here to a life where love doesn't require me to shrink. Looking back wasn't about counting losses. It was about celebrating the wins I almost missed because I was too busy being nice. And the greatest victory a woman can claim is the day she realizes her worth isn't up for negotiation. Because once she knows that, every room she walks into becomes her throne. The studio lights dimmed as the final caller hung up, her voice still echoing in my headphones. A single mom from Soweto who had just blocked her baby daddy after he promised to show up for their son's birthday and sent a text instead. She said my words gave her the push to choose her peace. And in that moment, the circle felt complete. From the girl on the balcony with a silent phone to the woman behind the mic helping others close their own doors. I signed off with my usual line. Remember, queens, your crown is custom made. Don't let anyone borrow it. And as the outro music faded, I slipped the headphones off and felt the weight of every story we had shared that morning settle into something sacred. Liam was waiting in the lobby with 2 takeout cups from my favorite spot in Melville, the one with the cinnamon buns that taste like Sunday mornings at my grandma's house. We walked to Zoo Lake hand in hand, found our bench under the same willow tree where I once cried over Thabo's silence, and now we laughed about how far we had come. He asked what I wanted to do with the rest of the day, and I said I needed to write a letter, not to him, not to Lerato, but to every woman who had ever felt like being nice was the same as being loved. So here it is, straight from my heart to yours, no filters, no fluff, just truth wrapped in the kind of love that says you are already enough. Start with the small things. The next time he texts WID at 11 p.m. after ignoring you all week, don't light up like a Christmas tree. Put the phone down, paint your nails, call your girlfriend, dance in your kitchen to Burna Boy, do anything that reminds you your world spins with or without his orbit. When he cancels last minute and expects you to rearrange your life, try this. Say, I understand, but my time is booked. Then actually book it with yourself, with your dreams, with the people who show up when they say they will. If he calls you difficult, smile and say, I prefer selective, because the right man won't see standards as a challenge. He'll see them as a blueprint. Stop explaining why you need consistency, why you deserve flowers on random Tuesdays, why ghosting isn't cute. The woman who knows her worth doesn't negotiate it at the table. She sets the table and invites only those who bring their own chair. Remember the sunflower test. Liam taught me this without knowing. When someone wants to be in your garden, they don't just admire the blooms from the fence. They bring water, they pull weeds, they show up with sunlight, even on cloudy days. If all you're getting are wilted apologies and half-hearted emojis, that's not a garden, that's a drought. You don't have to yell or curse or burn his clothes in the driveway, though if that's your vibe, I support you. Sometimes the strongest statement is silence, the kind that says, I'm done watering dead soil. Close the door gently if you need to. Slam it if you must, but close it. Lock it. Keep the key. And when the next person knocks, ask them to state their business before you even turn the handle. Love isn't a pop-in visit. It's a reservation with your name on it. Tonight, before you sleep, do one thing for the woman you're becoming. Delete the screenshots you reread when you miss him. Unfollow the highlights that make you question your enoughness. Write down 3 non-negotiables. Mine are consistency, respect, and effort, and tape them where you brush your teeth so you see them every morning. Then tomorrow, live them. Say no to the brunch that was an afterthought. Say yes to the workout class that makes you feel powerful. Say maybe to the coffee date with a guy who asked 2 weeks in advance and remembered you hate oat milk. Every choice is a brick in the foundation of the life you deserve, and the beautiful part is you don't need permission to start building. I want you to picture this. A year from now, you're sitting where I am, maybe not in a radio studio, maybe in your own corner of the world, but glowing from the inside out because you stopped auditioning for love and started acquiring it. You'll look back at the texts you didn't send, the plans you didn't cancel, the doors you finally closed, and you'll laugh at how heavy you used to carry crumbs when you were born to feast. You'll have someone, or maybe just yourself, and either way it will be enough because you will have learned that the greatest love story is the one where you choose you first, every single day. So here's your assignment. Beautiful. Take the sunflower Liam gave me on my first show day, the one pressed between the pages of my journal, and plant your own. Water it with boundaries, sunlight it with self-love, prune it with every no that feels like a yes to your soul. Watch it grow taller than any excuse you ever accepted. And when it blooms, send me a picture. Tag me, DM me, tell me how you closed one door and opened 1,000 windows. Because this isn't just my story anymore, it's ours. And the more we share it, the less space there is for men who think nice girls are forever options. If this letter lit even a tiny spark in you, do me a favor. Hit subscribe so you never miss the next conversation. Drop a comment with the door you're closing today, like this if you're ready, to stop being nice and start being whole. And share it with the sister who needs to hear she's not too much. Together we rise, queens, one closed door at a time, and the view from the other side is nothing short of magnificent.